Sunlight creeps through my window pane. Dreams of stars, now a faint refrain. Coffee brews and thoughts collide in this early morning ride. Wake up world, let's start the day. Insight flows in a bright array. Questions dance like morning dew. In this space, it's me and you. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup is a whisper. Conversations open doors. Spilling thoughts forevermore. Ideas bubble crisp and bright. Words take flight in morning light. Consult the heart, make it sing. New perspectives on each wing. Every thought becomes so clear. From sea tunes and bubbling streams, waking up to brand new dreams. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup was a whisper. Conversation.
Well, good morning. It is Saturday, guys. Are you awake? Is this really happening? I've been gone. I've been on a little bit of a break, and so welcome back if you have been gone also. Here we are. It is August, guys. It is 8/8/2026, and it is about 6:06 a.m. on the Pacific Coast. I'm coming back today after a little bit of time off. I was sick last week. I just did not feel good. And so I'm sorry if you were looking forward to the show last week. We're going to take care of it now. But if we're new to each other, if we've never done coffee chats with Melissa together, let me introduce myself. I am a coach, a consultant, and a connector. I love to live on LinkedIn to help people get to know each other, introduce others to my friends, see if there's some kind of alignment that helps everybody grow a little bit. Been on LinkedIn for close to 13, almost 14 years now. When I started on LinkedIn, it definitely was different. It was a white paper-esque platform. It was very much a working resume, kind of stuffy, definitely full of DMs of pitch after pitch after pitch. And I never expected to live on LinkedIn. I never expected to even like LinkedIn very much, if I'm being honest. And now I love it. I live it. I breathe it. I teach it. And so that's where I am streaming most times. I'm also on YouTube, guys. If you're following today and you're not following me on YouTube, I implore you to change that. LinkedIn is doing some growing again. And what I realized most recently was that a lot of my events had disappeared from my profile. So if you had been following me, you know that there have been multiple years of events on LinkedIn. Started with audio events where we weren't recording. It was very private, and we were able to have the conversations we wanted to have. Eventually, they got rid of audio rooms and they said, hey, if you're going to do this, we're going to ask that you do it live through a third-party platform. And so I chose StreamYard. I beta tested a few of the top performing at the time, and I fell in love with StreamYard. So if you want to check it out, there's a QR code somewhere or a link somewhere to take you to my referral code. But that's where we are today. We're streaming on StreamYard. It is going to Facebook and YouTube and LinkedIn. Now, if you want to learn more about me directly, my website is documentthenact.com, where you can learn a little bit more about my services. But truthfully, it's easiest to call me a life coach. I can help with your business for sure. I can help with growth in all facets of life. But I've also been a career coach, a certified staffing professional who was there to help people transition from one job to another and help employers understand the process of co-employment. I also ran a very successful background screening company for over a decade, started a few businesses with some owners, and I literally was the legs that got the businesses off the ground in many cases. And so there's not a lot I haven't done. Learned on the go myself, and it has been a wild ride. So if you need any of these things, feel free to reach out to me. That said, let's get into it today. Excuses or the choice is yours. A little bit of a poke, not going to lie. Like, okay, this is a heavy title. I might scare everybody away today. And the truth is, excuses and execution both start out the same, just like victory and victim. And when you decide how you're going to move forward, life changes. It changes one way or the other. We talk about this a lot, that you will write your story either way. You will have it roll out in front of you, whether we like it or not. Life happens, right? And so knowing that we can't control all facets of life, knowing that at some point there are external factors, you can be writing your story and then somebody spills coffee all over the page. Sure. How we deal with that coffee, how we deal with the recovery, how we deal with whether or not we're going to continue to write or use it as an excuse to put our pen down is what we're talking about today. And so please know that this is a human condition to have both excuses and the ability to execute. And so with any good human condition, I want to use scientific methods to move forward through it. I don't want to get crazy in the details, guys. We're not going to be pulling out our chemistry sets or anything like that. But what we are going to use is our crayons. We're going to use our paper, and we're going to go. Fan of the Venn diagram. If you're not familiar with what that is, it is two overlapping circles that are used to sort data. And I use it in a variety of ways with coaching clients. It's absolutely diverse in its facets, and you can customize it to suit any needs. If you need an extra circle, you throw an extra circle on there. If you need to have multiple Venn diagrams, you can do that. And then they can all overlap together in their own way. So for me, that's one of the ways I sort data. I also love a really good to-do list. I love to write things down, get clear. Sometimes I have a map. Sometimes I just jot everything down in its own little corner. It's up to you how you're going to move through your data. what I recommend is finding something that works. When I was growing up, it was the 80s. I just time-stamped myself, guys. Good morning, it's Saturday. But in the 80s, we had something really cool sitting on the shelves when we went shopping for school supplies, and it was Lisa Frank. And so those colors, they spoke to my soul. They resonated deeply and they stayed close to my heart. Growing up as a kid, I had a lot of neon colors in my wardrobe options. And so all of those colors, again, grabbing my attention, being fun, being bright, they're going to come along with me throughout the rest of my life. And then the other thing I was always really good at was organizing that folder. A different folder, a different color, a different highlighter, a different everything for every class. I really got excited about those things. So for me, when I want to get excited about an idea, a concept, whatever is in front of me, a to-do list, I bring out the things that excite me, the things that got me motivated and focused in the classroom. I don't fight it. I spent years training to be good at that thing. And so I utilize those very facets of elementary education that our teachers gave us to work through life's hardest challenges. And, simple is often what you need in those heavy times. Now, that said, data has to be collected, whether it's heavy, whether it's light. We need to be assessing. We need to be tracking. We need to be writing things down. Simple data is screenshots, right? You're just taking screenshots of your data. Maybe you're looking at your bank statements. Maybe you're looking at your calendar and your time management. What we're going to do is figure out what your data is, and we're going to use it to work through your excuses to move you into execution. So, data being a big deal means document, act, track, and adjust. And so for this purpose today, we are going to document what is true in our lives. What is true about your excuse? How are you moving through them? How many times do you allow the same excuse to repeat before you eliminate the excuse? How are you adjusting those things? Are you at all, or do you just keep ending up having the same Saturday that doesn't get it done? Okay. So, excuses, guys, they are very convincing. Those excuses come from a place that knows your history, knows your fears, knows exactly what and where to press when it's time to move. And this is that mindset button, guys. Your excuses speak to every facet of your being. Your excuses and your body are connected. And I want you to think about the times where you're sitting on the couch and you're like, I need to get up. And then you're like, but my feet hurt. My legs hurt. My head hurts. I'm hungry. I'm tired. I fill in the blank. It's easy to take one small inconvenience and allow it to stop progress. There are many times where the smallest hiccup can pause production. And I want you to think about those moments in your life where that happens. What are those moments, those things, those occurrences that pop up throughout your day, whether it be at home or work, whether you're a student, a teacher, all aspects of life, guys. It doesn't matter where you're standing when you're hearing this. What are those things that pop up that you allow to control your day? And this is a hard one, I think, because control is a scary word when you're talking about excuses. But you are in control of them. You're in control of them delaying your progress. You're in control of them preventing progress, right? But you're in control of your excuses not arriving to the scene. You can prevent that too. And so I think we need to look at the different things. First of all, it's not an excuse for me the first time. If your feet hurt, that is a legitimate reason not to get up right now. If you feel like there is an ache and you're so aware of it that it's actually making you pause progress for whatever reason, okay, let's figure out why it hurts. Let's not just assess, right? We got to address, because there's always going to be a reason to wait. And there are very good reasons to not move, very good reasons to pause. A car accident, for example. When I was younger, I was driving cab long before Uber and the other Lyft and ride share programs were in existence in a profound way. There was a cab company I worked for in Arizona, and it wasn't an easy job, believe it or not. I had to strategize a lot. I had to figure out where these zones of high volume were. I had to figure out how to stay in the zone so I didn't leave and accidentally miss my next call, because it was based on where you were placed, whether or not you would receive a call. Had to figure out how to pay for the cab up front. I paid to access this cab. I leased it. And then from there, anything I made once the cab was paid was my own to keep. Gases, expenses, right? And there's a lot of reasons. Oh, I'm not going to go drive today. It's not a busy day. I'm not going to drive today. I'm tired. And there's different levels of tired. I'm sick of driving, right? Is different than I'm tired and I need sleep. But a lot of times we use that word interchangeably. And so I want you guys to think about what those things are that pop up for you. Back then, I had real valid reasons. I was in a car accident, which gave me PTSD. It is really hard, or maybe it activated existing PTSD. I'm going to be clear. I'm not sure. I'm not a doctor. I don't chicken, egg, and all that good stuff, right? But being in a car accident is a very valid reason to take time off, right? I was robbed. Very valid reason to take time off. I would never tell you that your reasons are not valid. However, I would ask you, how many times do you have the same problem? How long does this reason prevent you from action? Because there's always a reason to wait. There are people there who are told, hey, and they're in the world. By the way, my brain's not all the way there yet, but it's coming. There are people in existence that are told, hey, you're not going to walk again. And they could use that statement from somebody else's mouth, that authority. They could use that as a reason to wait, to try, or to ever even, attempt again. They could just delete the concept. The problem I understand, this problem creates a ripple. It becomes harder, messier, slower, less convenient as you go. When I was younger, my son was about 2 years old. So this is 24 years ago. Doctor, they did a bunch of x-rays. They did MRIs and all the good stuff. And they came back and said, you have about 10 years to walk. And I just kind of looked at him. I am a former track star. I used to love running hurdles. I went all city. Or I was going all city. I don't remember. I was in the meet that was going all city. I don't know if I placed or not. But I was good. Okay. And I was doing well while I was there. And I just remember hearing you're not going to walk anymore and you have a 2-year-old. And I'm thinking, I have a 2-year-old little boy who loves to throw a football already. I'm in trouble. I could have used that as an excuse to sit still now, to pull out the walker, to get the wheelchair, to do all the things that they were telling me were going to be part of my life in a very short amount of time. What I did was say, oh, okay, if I only have 10 years, I'm going to use it. Use it or lose it, right? I've heard that. It was something I also heard growing up in the 80s, use it or lose it. So I started using it. If I have 10 years, but I planned on using my legs and my hips for the next 40, 50 years, then I got some work to do. I have some things to accomplish, some things to see, some traveling to get in, some people to play with in the park. And so I did. And I just kept going. I didn't let my pain become an excuse because I knew it was a valid reason to stop, but I also knew I was on a deadline. I am on a deadline still. right? But here's the thing. I told you when I started that it was 24 years ago that they told me I had 10 years to walk. I didn't listen. I didn't use their perspective and information and data set to control my actions. And the reason I didn't is because I knew if I didn't walk today, tomorrow was going to be harder. And every day I didn't walk took away time. They may estimate 10 years, but if I just stop moving now, I could cut that time in half and only have 5. And so I didn't wait for it to come for me. I went looking for the reason to stop. I was like, make me stop. I am going to use it till it breaks. The car is falling apart. I'm just full throttle. I'm pushing the gas pedal. I'm going to take this last lap at Daytona, right? I don't care if the bumper's flying off. I'm getting across the line. And so that was the mindset I used. That's still the mindset I use today, but I'm careful with it. I don't want to hurt my legs either, right? I don't want to push so hard that it breaks too soon because I'm not in my last lap yet. But there is that mindset behind both. And so I have to be careful. I have to be careful so I don't overdo it. I want to say hello to Sean. Good morning. Happy Saturday to you. Leslie, good morning from North Carolina. How are you guys doing? I heard it was really rainy on that side of the country. And then I haven't heard anything except fires for a little bit here in Washington. Bobby says every day is a gift to use it. Yes. Okay. So we always have a reason to slow down. We always have a reason to wait. Some are valid, some are excuses. And how do we know the difference, right? What is the variable there? You have to ask, what will this excuse create? More results or more excuses? If we're going back to just my ability to walk and my limitations on movement, the fact that they gave me a handicap placard when I was 35 years old, here I am, about to be 45 next month. And I haven't used the placard since it expired the first time they handed it to me. I refused to use it. I actually told my husband, I don't want to, because if I keep using it, I'll never stop, right? I knew if I used my hip pain as an excuse to park closer to the grocery store every time, that I would walk less more often, which would inhibit my ability to move later, right? There's a ripple there. So for you, what is your excuse you're putting down? What is your explanation? What is your reason for not moving forward? And then ask yourself, as valid as those things are, is this stance going to bring more results or more excuses? Next question is, if nothing changes, what does this excuse cost you next? When you're talking your ability to walk, guys, it's everything. If nothing changed, I was on a timeline that would have put me into teenage years, very young, early, like 12, preteen, not even there yet, 12-year-old boy, teenager who would have all this energy, all this excitement, all this need to be reared, because he was just that kid. He just needed somebody to hold him down a little bit and say, hey, calm down, let's do this, and get him focused. I had to chase him around, and not literally chasing him, but to keep up with his sports, to keep up with his extracurriculars, to keep up with his lifestyle, to keep up with just taking him shopping for school clothes at the mall. I would not be able to walk that path without movement, without making sure that my excuse did not inhibit my outcomes later. And it's okay to test. It's okay to rest. There's a ton that we can do to just take small steps, small bites, finish big meals. We've talked about it. We don't have to fix the hips. That was never my goal. At some point, I know there is a surgery for me. At some point, I can elongate my walking time with a surgery. But I also know that they gave me a very limited window once the surgery took place, because my pelvic bone has arthritis also, and it's degenerative. And so when they do the hip replacement, they have to have the ball on your hip joint, and then they have to have a socket that the ball goes into and moves around in, and it secures your leg to your body, right, to the pelvic bone. It could only happen one time. But here's the thing. I already took their 10-year window and doubled it. I haven't started the surgery, which starts another 10-year window. So right now, guys, I'm at a 30-year stretch on a 10-year plan. And I'm not even close to ready for my surgery. Why? Because I kept moving. And this is not everybody's story. I got to be honest with you. I am absolutely hard-headed. I am built to take a higher tolerance for pain. It's just who I've always been. I don't know why. Maybe it's the pain. My body did it for me. I can walk 10 to 12 hours a day at my current business that I'm running on concrete floors and be okay as long as the shoes are good, right? I have to make sure I take care of myself to the best of my ability so this pain does not become an excuse to give up. And every day it's a choice, every single day. But the question comes back to, if nothing changed, if nothing changes now, what does this excuse cost you next? So if I can't prevent the hip pain, if I can't take the Advil, do whatever it is, massages, stretching, chiro, whatever it is, what is it going to cost me? And it's work to do the work. It's never easy. It's not just okay, I'm deciding it's going to be okay now, and then it's just fine. No. Excuses can sound responsible, right? If they say, hey, you don't want to overdo it. Don't overdo it, Melissa, because if you overdo it, then, okay, that's reasonable, right? It sounds true. I shouldn't overdo it. But if I didn't do the work, if I allowed those excuses to pause my progress, it's very irresponsible in the long run, right? And so you have to weigh all things at all times. What can sound reasonable and responsible, and coming from a medical professional, it should sound like the end-all be-all diagnosis, and that's it, and it's final. But they're wrong. Something my grandma said to me very early in life, and it always stuck with me, and all due respect to the profession, but my grandma reminded me that doctors are practicing medicine. They have a medical practice, and they call it practice because it's not perfected. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to everything for everybody. And so while as responsible as it sounds, they are moving on statistics, their own data. And here's the funny part about Melissa is I am so not normally part of a generic statistic. I am usually the opposite. If 99% of people are not affected by it, guess who is? When I was pregnant, having my daughter, growing inside, she's doing her thing. If 1 in 5 women would have an issue during pregnancy, it would miss me. If 1 in 10,000 women would have an issue, I got it. I had gestational diabetes. I had gestational carpal tunnel. So while I was pregnant, I had really bad carpal tunnel. I had to wear wrist protection. Haven't had a problem with my wrist, only during that pregnancy. I had low progesterone, so I had to take extra progesterone throughout my pregnancy. I'm Rh negative. That's a very uncommon thing, but pretty common. But the statistics, as you just overlap my unique circumstances, the doctor's like, this is crazy. I've never seen anybody experience this. Even my mother-in-law was like, is she telling the truth? And my husband had to explain, yeah, I'm at the doctor's offices. Because sometimes doing the right things, seeing the doctors, it sounds incredibly hard to overcome. Now, funny story is I have a young daughter who's almost 18. We could have used the excuses to have a million reasons not to move forward with any of the plans we had. But we did. And we have a beautiful daughter. And it was worth every bit of the chaos that I went through. I don't recommend pups to anybody. That was also a rash I got while I was pregnant. It affects some women. It was terrible. But I have to tell you guys, I did the best with what they told me, and then I moved in what moved me. They would tell me to, do certain exercises and I would have to adjust because of my hips. They would tell me to eat certain foods and some of those foods would make me worse, not better. And so I had to adjust my diet. I had to keep working, right? And in business, it's the same thing. We'll try to optimize an operational process. And then it's, we didn't get to it this week. We'll move it to next week. This time management issue we have, we're going to delay it. We're going to focus on time management when we get more time, guys. Does that make sense? Eventually, the explanation becomes a pattern, and the pattern becomes the life. If you're always excusing away the reason you're not moving is because of your pain, but you never assess the pain, that is the new pattern. You're living in pain, and you're opting in. You're choosing that path because you're not assessing the problem. One time for your feet hurting and you don't want to do the work, great. The second time I'm going to ask you, when was the last time you bought new shoes? Is it that you've been standing too long? Do you need to take more breaks? Is there a pattern we can change in your behavior to prevent this pain from making you not move? Because let's just get crazy, wild. Let's be a little bit off the wall. But what happens if you're feeling that level of pain and the volcano goes? The earthquake happens, tsunami. Are you ready for the next disaster if you're always waiting for your body to be ready? If you're always finding a reason not to move forward? Because it's really easy to jump into doom and gloom. It's really easy to have an excuse. Oh, the earthquake's here. I'm not going to move. Instead of stepping 2 feet out of the house that's crumbling over your head. Oh, but the sky is falling, so I'm going to let it. Listen, Chicken Little, go outside. Get under a barrier. Make sure you're safe. Move out of the way of the problem. When was the last time you found yourself standing right in the middle of it instead of moving out of the way? Or how often do you step into somebody else's problem to help them because they always have an excuse? So you're just going to solve it this time. You're just going to knock it out. It is faster for me to just do the thing for you than to help you with it. Let me just take care of that. Whether it's life, business, relationships, family, kids, it doesn't matter. If you're not holding the others accountable, if you become the person who helps explain it away, fix it, solve for X where they're not, then you're helping this pattern be created, right? This is a dual-sided problem. We are all humans. We are all in relationships. We are all interchanging at all times. There's energy, movement, exchange of information, just sitting in the same space at the same time. That is a valuable asset to be sharing. And so when you're doing this, what outcomes are you getting? What is happening when you're in those spaces? What would your data tell you if you stopped arguing with the evidence? And honestly, guys, as a coach, the hardest part of coaching for me is watching people look at their data. Watching them really assess when you sit down and say, okay, you told me you had no time, but let's look at your app usage on your phone this week. And all of a sudden now we have 4 hours spent on TikTok, 6 hours spent on YouTube. Cool. What were you doing there? I'm not assessing just your usage, but what were the actions taken while you were sitting in that space? Because if you did 4 hours of content building on TikTok, as a business owner, that's fantastic for marketing, right? Let's look at your outcomes. Let's look at the data. Let's make sure that we're getting some ROI from those actions, but let's assess. And if we do, we're tracking and adjusting, right? So if you spent 4 hours on TikTok, what were the outcomes? What was that YouTube spree about? What were the outcomes? Sometimes you're going to say, hey, I watched nothing but reels and giggled for 4 hours after a really hard week. Cool. That's fine. Rest is part of the data we need to be tracking, right? We need to take care of ourselves. Does it prevent the other things all the time? Do you need 4 hours on TikTok and 6 hours on YouTube for 10 hours of video content to unplug? Have you tried meditation for 20 minutes instead? There are many ways we can play, but I really like, what does your data say? If you were to open your phone right now and look at your app usage, would you want to share it? If you told your spouse, hey, I know you asked me to do X, but I didn't have time. If your spouse said, cool, can I see your phone usage real quick? Would it start an argument because you want to protect the information? Would it start an argument because you would feel called out on the excuse? Would you want to avoid the evidence because it would make you realize maybe I could have done it differently? And you don't want to admit that to yourself. Because, guys, there's a lot of times where I could have done it differently. And it took me a very long time to realize accepting that and owning it and not being scared to say out loud, I screwed up. Once you harness that, you really stop avoiding the truth. You really stop avoiding the evidence because you are who you are and you have to be responsible for that. The data is going to come, right? You will write your story either way. If you're not aware who you are and what your excuses are and what your execution looks like or lacks, we'll know. You may not know, but we will, right? And eventually that's going to have a ripple too. I won't call on people who can't be called on. If the evidence says every time I ask you to show up and you can't, I understand that it's a waste of my time. My ROI is not there to call on you. If that's true for an employee, how long do you stay employed? If it's true about a partnership and marriage, how long would you stay married? Right? And if you are telling me you have no time, but you are not making time to do time management, if you're not assessing where your time is going, if you're not eliminating the unnecessaries to focus on the big stuff, then I would make you stop and do that with me as your coach. I would tell you that's the first step. Stop spinning your wheels and figure out where your wheels are taking you. Does that make sense? Are you awake, guys? Good morning to Coach Carrie and Felipe. Excuses are procrastination's best friend, 100%, buddy, right? And there are some valid reasons not to do it. But I think if you use the same reason more than twice, it's a choice. And then we have to ask ourselves, what are you reinforcing right now? Action or avoidance? And if you really look at that schedule, if you really look at your productivity, if you really look at where your time is going, what you're telling yourself you're trying to accomplish, and what behaviors you're using to get there, you might be shocked. The clarity that comes from just slowing down to speed up, to slow down and go, okay, what do I do with my time on a Monday? It feels like Monday is never mine. It's everybody else's. So where does it go? If a busy Monday ruins your week, it just absolutely sets you back a whole day every Monday, and you don't assess what Monday is doing, I'm going to ask you why. And I'm certain, because we're not asking why, it's the reason. We had a very special time when I was doing staffing services. It was a full desk, full recruiting, the whole thing, right? So I was doing outbound calling to retain new clients. I was taking their job descriptions, doing the advertising, writing my job ads, putting it out, interviewing the applicants, presenting the applicants, training the applicants where needed, testing the applicants where needed, and then maintaining contact with the client to ensure that within 90 days we would be able to onboard them to their payroll. It was a lot of work to get my job done every day. If I was not very protective of my time in that role, I wouldn't hit my quotas. I wouldn't be able to do the job I was hired for, and it would 100% affect my commissions. Part of what I was required to do was make 25 outbound calls to new prospect clients every day. 25 connected calls. I must speak to you to count it, which means if you know I'm calling and you don't want to talk to me and you let me go to voicemail, you just doubled my work. I have to call the next person. And that's fine. You're not obligated to answer my call, right? But if you're thinking about the requirement of my boss asking me to speak to 25 of you before I can stop doing that job and I move into the next facet, it can really slow down your day. If you have to make all these client calls, do all these interviews, do all this paperwork, do the onboarding, the I-9, the verifications, all the things, backgrounds, all of it, that 25 calls can loom over your head. And if you start waiting till the end of the day to get those done, the likelihood of you catching the people you need to goes down. Those meetings were planned at your client, right? They have those late afternoon meetings to figure out what happened in their day. And so for us, it was 8 to 10. From 8 to 10, the building could burn down. And as long as it hadn't reached my cubicle, I am dialing the phone. That was kind of the mindset. And a little facetious, but not much, to be honest. You got some eyeballs from the big boss if you got out of your desk in that 2-hour window. You should be ready to go, dial, just go. And if you hit 25, you keep going if you have time, because statistically speaking, you might not catch anybody on a Friday. So if you can get everybody on Tuesday, you should. You need to bolster your numbers so you can have that statistic, right? If anybody were to interrupt me or one of my colleagues during this time, I don't care what it was, that person would get accountability immediately. Reinforced, I don't care. Have them come back at 10. If it was an emergency, a work comp issue, something of that nature, the owner of the company would step in for us because our time was that valuable. That was action being reinforced, right? What we were reinforcing was the action and what needed to take place to keep the wheels going. Without jobs, we can't staff. Without staffing, there's no point in being a staffing company. If we don't have jobs, we can't get applicants, because the jobs are what bring the applicants in, because they see them and want to apply, and then we interview. Does this make sense? You have to be accountable for you. And so when we get into this, guys, it feels very nitpicky. It feels like I'm talking stuff, right? And I'm sorry if it does, but I've talked this stuff to myself too. And it's you against you on this one, because the excuses are yours. The action is yours. The outcomes are yours. Good morning to Nick and Christine. Christine says, what about the situation when you have competing priorities, like multiple competing priorities? P.S. Melissa, if you were 45, you were still a kid, believe me. So multiple priorities, they're competing. What's most important? In an emergency room, they always have competing priorities. They figure out how to triage and assess and then sort by need, right? Which needs the most action most immediately. If the house is on fire, I'm going to put the fire out before I do the laundry. Just makes sense. That said, sometimes it's really hard to figure that out. And sometimes you're going to screw it up. Sometimes you're going to pick plan A and then you're going to go, dang, I should have, done this one first and then this one. You're not always going to know. But if you have the same competing priorities every Monday, do some beta testing, right? Document, act, track, adjust, use your data. It's not perfect. And the reason we protected that 8 to 10 time frame was not something that started from the day of opening as a business owner. He had no idea to protect that time at first. Maybe he did, but maybe all he had to do was do outbound calls because there was nobody else there yet. And so I think you have to assess if you're not sure, if you're really struggling, if you've done the week to week and you can't figure it out. That's when you get a coach or a consultant in, you speak to a mentor, you speak to a colleague, somebody who's doing the same job but seems to have it together. And then you guys brainstorm and you figure out what's not working, what's working. Now, if you're in control of things, if you can say, hey, it would be awesome if we take this Monday noon meeting and move it to Tuesday because it really kills the rest of my afternoon. If the team can move that, do it, right? But you got to assess why, how, and what before you can ask. Nick says, ooh, I stepped in at the perfect time. So much to do, so little time. I had to do. Yeah, seriously, guarding your time. When we first start coaching, a lot of my clients, I just go in and say, hey, I want you to find the next spot in your calendar and block it out. And you're just going to put schedule for the yes in that slot. And I have them make that a repeating thing because every day you need to give yourself a yes spot. If I had that 8 to 10 hour, like when I'm dialing out and I'm doing my calls and I get a yes, I need to have time to send the contract. I need to have time to follow up on the contract. I need to have time to follow the protocols of getting the new client to fill out their credit application form to be a client of ours, to know how we're going to build them, all of these facets. And if I didn't schedule from 10 to 11 for that follow up, I was never going to get back to them the rest of the day. I knew it because as soon as I start taking those other things on, I'm not going to have time. The fires keep coming. And so being wise, I said from 8 to 10, we're doing this. From 10 to 11, I'm doing this other thing. And if I didn't need the full time, great. I could pick up other duties and responsibilities, move into other tasks. But it was really important to make sure that if I was going to sow the seeds, I had time to harvest the rewards. Okay. The other thing in sales, are you documenting what happened? Is the first thing, right? And so I can call Bob every day and say, Bob, I want to help you with your staffing. Bob, let me help you with your staffing. Changing up the lingo, changing up the reasons, I can do all of that. But if I'm not documenting what I said to Bob every time I call, how am I going to adjust? If I'm always getting a no from Bob because I'm always just saying, hey, Bob, do you want to hire my friends? Oh, I can't fix it if I don't write that in the notes. The next salesperson who comes in or the next coach consultant who would come in and look at our notes and say, why isn't Bob buying? If it just said, Bob doesn't want humans, Bob doesn't want humans, and we never have a different conversation, nothing's ever going to change, right? He's not going to want humans and we don't know why. Maybe he's a machine guy. Maybe he only needs AI robots, but maybe we have that as an offering. We just never offer it because we ask him if he wants the humans and he says no. Same thing goes with your excuses, guys. If you're always slammed on a Monday, are you documenting what happens on Monday that makes it a problem? Or you're just like, that's just Monday. Mondays suck for everybody. That's just how it is here. That's just what it always will be because this is how we've always done it. I can't even say it without my mouth getting gross. If you think about your life, if you think about the past year, how many days were different? If you look at your Saturday mornings, I'm hoping you are here. I'm hoping you follow from here to go over to the Social Saturday show Felipe and his friends are having, right? What about Sunday? Do you do the same thing with Careers, Chaos, and Coaching every other week? And then do you have other shows you watch too that I'm not part of? They're not on the tip of my tongue, but there's a ton out there. Are you always on LinkedIn? Do you ever go to YouTube to watch it just to diversify how you approach it? Do you take Saturdays off? Do you ever do it from the yard or in the garage? Do you change your actions to where you're not in the same place every time you listen? Or is this something you need that very consistent space where you're sitting down with your notebook, your pen, your coffee, you're locked in, you're watching the screen, you can't move because this is one of those things you want super focused time because this, the topic, the show is a little bit different every week. What are those other habits you have? And what, same kind of questions, right? Walk through it. How am I doing my life? What are these things that I plan to do very consistently and why? Do I get anything out of them? Because I will say, guys, I've lived on LinkedIn long enough that I have watched a lot of people do the same thing over and over and over. And then they get mad they don't have different results. And shocking, but if you ever look up the definition of crazy, that's really kind of it, isn't it? What are we changing? This is that data, right? We're documenting. What is it that we're doing that is overwhelming? What is the hardest part of our week or our day? What are we doing about it? Is there a plan? Is there a plan of action? Winter's going to be here in no time, guys. I hate to say that out loud, but have you looked at the month? We get 12 months in a year and we're in the 8th. From here on out, it is cardigans and beanies again. And I'm very excited about that. So, shh, if you're not. But if that is true, and you told yourself, listen, last winter I hated breaking the ice and the snow off the car. I'm gonna clear out the garage by next winter so I can use it before the snow comes. How many Saturdays do you have left? When are you going to act on that garage being cleared out? How many weekends do you have left to have the yard sale to empty the space so you can fit your car in there? What is your business doing? How are the numbers looking versus last year, last month? How is your sleep? How is your weight? How is your blood pressure? How much time did you spend on your phone talking to family this week? And how much of it was for fun versus because the sky is falling? Have you had a get together with your friends? Are you feeling lonely, angry, hungry, tired? Are you taking care of those things you've thought of all week long so you could just let it go? Did you write it down? I just went with 3 different sentences in my brain and all of them went, nope, nope, nope. I got to be honest with you guys. When I struggle the most is when I don't take my own advice. I get really good at doing the things, right? I document, I act, I get into this new routine, this new pattern of behaviors. We're going to try this new way to play and see what happens. And I give myself a certain time frame to do that. It's a really good thing to have a behavior for a set amount of time before you decide it works or it doesn't work. And so I want to look at the documentation and I want to act and track and adjust often. But I'll be honest, I get into the habit and then I stop assessing as often. It seems to be working. Everything is a little bit better. I feel the relief. We're good. We're going in the right direction. And then maybe I forget to track one week. I skip a week of data. I skip a week of assessing what we could have done better or worse. When that happens, guys, I get complacent. If I get into my life where I'm starting to move so quickly or so consistently that I no longer need to look at my notes, we're in a repetition phase that I'm not certain I'm comfortable with. And the reason I'm not certain I'm comfortable with it is because I'm only as comfortable as the data lets me be until it tells me I'm wrong, right? If you're on vacation, spending away and you're having a great time and everything's wonderful and you're, I know where I'm going to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and I know how many days I'm going to be here, and I planned my budget, and you're just going and you're the balance of the bank, you might be in a lot of trouble when you realize somebody stole your credit card data and you're upside down, for example. I did background checks for a decade. I've seen some really bad crimes. But on the back end of those embezzlement, fraud, credit card with things, right? I always think about the humans that might have been on vacation and their card was declined and it was the first time they realized they had been a victim of theft. You could be living your best life doing all the right things. You save 10% of your income. You save 50% of your income. You have so much money, you don't have to worry about it right up until somebody takes it and you don't realize it. Even when you're comfortable, you should be monitoring. New lottery winners, statistically speaking, they don't last very long as millionaires. Many of them end up right back in broke status. Why? They're not tracking, they're not adjusting, they're not assessing, They don't have the data they need to even track their own data, right? It's okay for you to write stuff down, but sometimes that's not enough. You can say the sky is blue. It doesn't mean you understand where the blue came from or how to make it different. But if you have your information ready, others can be more available to help. So if nothing else, just assessing where you are to get a pattern of behavior, to gather your reports, to gather your concepts. In journaling, I love writing down, when I met somebody. I have my coffee chats planner that was started just for tracking, so I could understand who I met, where I met them, did they become a client, what did I learn about them, what did we share, and all of this great nuanced stuff that I tracked. But then I had to go back and look at what those relationships built, right? As a salesperson, as somebody who's done operations, if you've sold to former clients, you maintain client contact because they're very likely to buy if you're tracking. Most customers become repeat customers very quickly if they have a good time. So are you doing follow-up calls? Are you doing review requests? Are you absolutely assessing your actions and where they're taking you, no matter what it looks like? I want you to think about this. What are you assessing? Who's giving you the data? Who's gathering the data? Because it's very easy to pick the reviews you like. Are you reading them all? Or do you just say, hey, show me the ones with 5 stars? When I was with a client years ago, we were talking about building their Google reviews and just in general, their ability to connect to the customer base of the area. And when I said, well, let's look at your reviews, their face kind of changed at first. And I was like, what's going on? Well, I guess I didn't realize we'd be looking at it. Well, yes, if you want to change reviews, I would like to know where we're starting. If you want me to paint your house, I'm going to have to look at the house to see where we're starting from, right? What am I going to have to do to prepare? And the first thing that person did was just filter by the best, just immediately put the guard up to only show me the best of the best. And that doesn't work for a consultant. Consultants are happy for your best, but we're there for the bad stuff. We're there for the stuff that's hidden in the back of the drawer. We're the teacher cleaning out your desk with you, opening up your bag, and let's get to the bottom of things. Let's see what's shuffled in there, what's shoved down in the bottom that we're not actually paying attention to. Same thing has to happen with you guys. My alarms are just crazy today. If you guys are struggling with something, if you're feeling unsettled, if you're not happy with where you are or with the repeating behavior that keeps popping up in your life, maybe even the same conversation with a spouse, a colleague, your kids, you're just repeating it and you would love for this to change, but you can't figure out how. Write down what you've tried. Write down when the conversations are happening. What is the action taking place? What leads to this outcome? Because if you know that every time you make a left turn on Main, you get into a fender bender, you should probably make a right. I don't even need to know what's going on Main, but I know I'm not making a left anymore. If I know the left is the first thing that leads to the accident, I'm going to stop going left. Sometimes we have super successful years in business or life. We're feeling great. And so we don't assess anything because it's like, no, it was a good year. I didn't have any complaints, nothing major. No, I don't need to look at anything. Okay. But what if we just turned around and realized, hey, there's a hole in your pocket and you're losing $100 a day that you don't have to. You're successful, so you didn't even notice the $100 a day is just falling out of your pocket. But I noticed because I came in to assess what's happening around you, and I realized, wow, even though you're not missing it, imagine the profound impact of saving that $100 a day for the next 20 years instead of letting it fall out of your pocket. All it takes is 2 seconds. We'll just put a little stitch in that pocket so there's no more hole. Well, we'll get you to swap out your outfit so you're not wearing holey jeans anymore, so you don't lose. I mean, $100 a day you can afford to buy some new pants if we just stop letting it fall out of your pocket. Right? And so even if it's going well, maybe it could go better. You just don't know unless you're tracking. Are you protecting the reason or producing the result? As a coach, I've had some tough conversations because I have to just ask the questions. If it's great, it's working. How can we make it work better? Well, I'll hear a million reasons. I'll hear valid reasons, right? Valid. I'm not saying they're not. But what is that reason for not shifting? Why is the shift even available? Is this something that we need to assess? Like we don't have a choice. The customers are demanding we add a new item to the menu. We no longer want chicken. We want beef. We no longer want beef. We want chicken. We never wanted meat to begin with. Now you're a vegetarian restaurant. You have to think through these things, right? I don't know why my brain went to food, but what if all of your customers said, I know you love potatoes, but you can't make a potato. Can you just serve broccoli? You're really good at broccoli. Can you just take potatoes off the menu because you're not good at it? And nobody who likes potatoes will like you for offering it. Would you be offended? Would you say, no, I love the potato, it's staying. This is my grandma's recipe. I'm not touching it. Would you say, hey, listen, I don't want to lose the potato because I like it, but I want to figure out how my customers want it delivered? Maybe you're so successful at selling everything else that you're missing the potato conversation. If you do that, you're hurting yourself. Because the truth is, and I want you to self-assess here, if you hear or know of a problem, if you tell somebody, hey, your potato isn't potatoing, and they don't listen, and you keep coming back hoping for a new result and it doesn't work, how long are you going to stay patronizing that location when you're not heard? When no matter what you say, it just doesn't resonate with the people. Same with your teams. If your staff comes to you and tells you there is a problem, how long are you going to give it before you assess and address it? When I was struggling with my former employer, this at the staffing firm, who also had a background screening company that I worked for, I had effectively broken up with him. I fired him when I was working at the staffing firm because I wasn't excited about the way he was speaking to me, the actions he was doing. Our results were not showing at all in our paychecks, in the way he spoke to us and the way he treated the team. When I tried to assess it with him, he protected his time further instead of giving me a result I needed then. So I quit. Eventually, we got back to a conversation stance, and then he said, hey, start this background screening company with me. Okay, let's do it. I'll do the work. I'll learn. I'll do it. And then same behaviors repeated. And he had valid reasons for everything he was saying. But the result that he was producing was my burnout. I was working way too hard for way too little for outcomes I wasn't pleased with. And when I assessed it with him, it didn't work. Now, I had assessed multiple times, and this is where it comes in for me, guys. If you want to change your life, if you want to shift, if you want to assess it with your boss, your employer, your spouse, your whomever, you got to have the information together. You got to have your ducks in a row. You have to have the data, because it's easy for an employer to be so busy they don't realize what they've created. They don't realize what they've done. They didn't mean to miss a payment, a bonus, a decimal point on the paycheck. They didn't mean to miss your birthday and not do the company, balloons and cookie or whatever. You have to have the conversation. But if you're going to have the conversation, write down, I spoke with Bob. I was disappointed. He missed my commission payment and he said he'll cut a check and I'll have it within 2 days. Cool. If this happens every 3 months, Bob and I are really going to have a problem, because Bob needs to stop giving me excuses of, it's okay, I made a mistake. You can hold on a few more days. I'll fix it anyway. What's the big deal? The big deal is you're supposed to be executing effectively the first time, Bob. You're responsible for paying me for what I've done, and I shouldn't have to chase it. I shouldn't have to be accountable for your accounting. Ooh. Now, it's kind of hard to tell your boss that. But if you come to him and say, hey, listen, Bob, I hate to be a bother. I just wanted to let you know, I've noticed we're struggling. We're producing a pattern of me not getting paid my commissions on time. And so I wanted to see what the problem might be so we can prevent that, because it's really becoming a habit. Right. And when you do that, then you can go and assess it. Maybe it's because you don't send your documents over in time. Maybe it's because the, accounts payable person leaves an hour before you send it. You send it at the end of the week, but they're 3 hours ahead on the East Coast. And so you're sending it an hour after she leaves. And that delays it. So it always goes on the check after. If you're assessing, if you're addressing, if you're documenting, you have this data to go back to. You can absolutely track where the problem is created. If you're on a road trip and every time you hit a certain spot on the highway, you get a flat tire, I bet you would start paying attention as you get closer to that spot in the freeway to try to see what it is in the road that's giving you the flat. Doesn't this make sense, guys? I mean, are you awake? Are you with me? I'm going to go back to the comments here. Nick says, I'm cleaning the pool filter while listening, then going to work. Tonight, I want to go in my pool. It's my R&R. Trying to balance what I need to do and what I need to do for my wellness. She said, I've started assessing which jobs are costing me and which are earning revenue. I must, or I go out of business. And that's exactly right. And it's so easy to just slide a little bit here and a little bit there, guys. It really is. If you think about just giving out a free bottle of water here and there at a concert, not a big deal. It's a few cents per bottle when you're buying water, bottled water, right? You're buying in bulk, there's a case, there's a discount. You might be selling at $4 a bottle at a concert. Let's just say 5 for easy math. If you give one away every case, not a big deal, unless it's not yours, unless the cost isn't being considered anywhere, we're not tracking it. Is there a way to offset the cost somewhere? And over time, how much money are we actually giving away? Because it's not just our cost, but it's the value of what we could be creating with that same product. We're not just giving away a 50-cent bottle of water. We're giving away $4.50 in revenue. And so when you start thinking like that, even with your friends, even with people on LinkedIn, the time, the energy we're exchanging, it's not a lot, but it gets to be. When I was doing 15-minute free coffee chats, I was doing 3 to 5 a day. It wasn't a lot when you think, you say an hour and 15 minutes a day, 5 days a week. Here, that is a huge amount of my life I'm giving to people just to see if I like them. And I do. I like a lot of you down there. So I haven't seen anybody I don't like. Let me put it that way. But there have been times where I've been in a coffee chat and I knew immediately it wasn't the alignment I needed. I knew that the energy wasn't there and I wasn't going to waste the time to go back. I wasn't going to protect, this relationship I really don't want. I was looking for the results of an energy and alignment, an action I wanted to move into, not away from. All right, guys, it is 7:10. If you're just joining, welcome. If you're not, thanks for being here. Guys, go make sure you're following me on YouTube. Did you notice all of the LinkedIn events have started disappearing off profiles? So I was looking at my events this week. I haven't been posting a ton on LinkedIn because like I said, I was sick and I was just taking some downtime doing my thing. But when I went to my profile to go make sure that the event was there and everything was working, I noticed a lot of my events had disappeared. I only had a few there. And I reached out to Aaron Gibson because he does a ton of events too. And I asked him, hey, did you notice? And he did a post about it because they had moved. I don't know if this is a temporary situation. I don't know if LinkedIn is just purging a bunch of the old data to get rid of liability or what might be there. But if you're not backing your shows up onto a platform like YouTube, if you're not saving those videos in the cloud on a hard drive somewhere where you can retrieve your shows later, you might be in trouble because there's always a platform limitation, right? LinkedIn's only going to give you so much before they decide they don't want to anymore, and they're allowed. Same with you in business. So make sure you're protecting your own. Make sure you're making efforts to back it up in case all of these platforms disappeared tomorrow. Would you have anything to take away? It's really hard for me because I loved not being recorded in the audio events. I loved that it was a private space. If you were in there, you could hear what was going on. But once it was over, it was gone. And there was no playback. And it was a beautiful, beautiful situation. Now I've evolved. We've had to use StreamYard. LinkedIn told us, if you want to keep doing this, this is how you're going to do it. And so I created my show to look like this, where it's more billboard style. You're still getting the audio event, very much presentation, but at the same time, low key audio in your ear that you could ignore the screen if you wanted to, right? But it's disappearing. Those shows that I started to love and really put time in and to craft and create, they're just being deleted. I'm so grateful that I decided to go to YouTube and do this, but it wasn't the whole time. And so just remember, guys, those little things that you're building, even if it feels valuable right now, have you thought about the long-term plan? Right? Because when I was on LinkedIn producing my stuff, I felt it was perfect. And now I'm thinking, oh crap, I didn't grab them all. I didn't save them all. There are shows that are just gone. I don't even know what the titles were because maybe I don't have them tracked anywhere else. Now, I think there's a list somewhere when I first started in a journal somewhere where I wrote them all down, but then I did stop because I knew I was recording them. Point is, the choice is us. It's on us, guys. Nobody's promising to maintain our files for us. Nobody's promising to keep us here forever. It's up to us to do it, and we're going to write our story either way. We're either going to document it, and we're going to document it in so many places nobody can take it away, or we're not. We have to decide, are we grabbing a piece of chalk on a chalkboard? Is it a dry erase board? Is it a permanent marker? Are we setting it in stone? Is it concrete laid? And we have pushed our finger into the wet concrete to draw the smiley face and our initials. We have to determine how long we're there and for why. For why? Okay, let me just look back at the comments here. Christine says she loves that all of her client calls are recorded and transcribed. It's been a game changer. Yes. When I first started in sales, there was none of that. You had to write down everything you could. And so I got really good at shorthand notes and figuring things out. But the tech in that way is a game changer. I love it so much. Nick says, one charitable book a year. This is my price, non-negotiable, and my friends and family discount needs to be in my favor as well. These are solid business decisions. Respect them or leave them. There are many other publishers out there. And I freaking love that attitude because, guys, the choice is yours. It is up to you who you're going to work with. It's up to you how you're going to move forward. And it's up to businesses to determine that too. I think it's really a game-changing experience to have the mindset of, I'm going to do what they're asking of me until I'm not. And so now, looking back on my career, I wanted to be promoted. I wanted to be the helper. I wanted to be the one the boss could always lean on. And I was, and it was great. And I always loved my gold stars. When I got to be the boss, I wanted people just like me. I wanted people who wanted to earn their gold stars, their kudos, really put in the work to get their outcomes. I wanted that accountability. And now in retail, 30 years after I had left retail, going back into retail, I look at the store and I realize there are so many different mindsets that have come in, whether it be customers, employees, applicants. I'm just going to speak generally. But I'm going to do what I want, even if it's not my business. mindset. I'm going to get away with something because I can, instead of having the integrity to do as we were asked. And that is something I like to change quickly when I see it, because the truth is, if a company is paying me for a service, they're going to get that service. I have the integrity to say, no, I want to offer what I promised. There are people there who say, oh, I hate this kind of leadership. I hate this kind of structure. Corporate rules are dumb rules. Why does this exist? Good questions. However, it exists because the owner of the company and the people they hired to do the jobs created this outline. This is the criteria they want us to follow. And so that is why they asked us to. Some people have a really hard time with that concept. Some people have to fight that authority. But then my next question to those people are, if you're fighting that authority, what happens when you're the boss? Are you going to expect people to do as you say, or are you going to be willing to understand that they're going to fight the authority? And really holding yourself to that standard can be a game changer. I can't promise it's going to work for you, but if you really look at it as, I don't want to be a hypocrite. I don't want to be that person who says, do as I say, not as I do, because honestly, who listens to that guy? I'm not going to listen to that guy. What do you mean don't set fires while you're burning bridges? What? No, don't make me get the hose if you have the fire. I'm not doing it. And so think about what your standards are. Think about what you're asking of your team. Think about what your employers are asking of you and how much they're giving you back. Same with clients. It has to be mutually agreeable. It has to be something that's assessed often and address honestly what's not working. That's what execution is about. If you can't tell the truth, if you can't really assess and be honest about what's happening, execution is a lie. You might Band-Aid fix something, but it's not done, right? It's the difference between putting a Band-Aid on something or surgically correcting it. Execution is the surgical correction. It is going to prevent it from coming back. It is going to fix it, not treat it. Does that make sense? Are you with me? When you ask yourself, what did I do to get here, right? What did I do? What decisions did I make that created this moment? What decisions can I make next? And what would change because you showed up? Could you say, hey, I don't want to clean out the garage right now, my feet hurt? Yes. But what would happen if you didn't use that excuse? What if you just got to work and pushed through? What if you changed your shoes, soaked them in some Epsom salt, put on some pain relief cream and got back to it? How many times do you tell yourself you're in too much pain to get it done? And who really believes that as you get older, it's going to get less painful? As you wait, it's going to get easier. I don't know if that is the greatest lie we're all telling ourselves or not. It does come up a lot in coaching. It comes up a lot with me talking to myself too. When I say, oh man, I'm too tired to do it now, I'll do it later. Oh man, I don't want to do it now, I'll do it later. How many times can you say you don't want to do something before your body stops believing in the whole concept as a whole? If your body didn't want to do it the first time and then you revisit the concept and you tell it again, no, I don't want to do this, do you think it's going to be excited on the third go? And if you're always taking 1, 2, 3 times to talk yourself into doing the thing, and it's a repetition every Monday that you're struggling to get it going, do you feel like you're giving your best self to the task? Why is it always so hard? There are some limits where your body goes, okay, I can't do this anymore. And at some point, my body is going to win that conversation. It is. It's just what it's going to be. Doesn't mean I'm not going to get creative in that moment and go, okay, body, but you can still do this. So let's do that instead. I look at the people who have no arms, but I've seen artists painting with their feet, paintbrush just in their toes, doing work that I couldn't do with my hands if I tried. They didn't take no for an answer. They found their way. They decided they wanted to paint and they were going to work it out. How did they do it? Carefully, over time. They practiced. It was not easy. Nothing that's worth it usually is. But what changed for that human who decided to show up for themselves anyway? What was that success like the first time they handed the painting over to the loved one they gifted it to, or had it hang on the wall somewhere, or had somebody just say something nice about it on the internet, even one comment from a stranger about the art? What would that execution feel like for you? What ripple would that have in your life to see you take no excuses and just do the thing that you're really being pushed to do from inside? Because I can promise you, you're not going to paint with your toes unless you really want to paint. But if you really want to do it, why wouldn't you do it any way you could? What would stop it if you really wanted to accomplish something? If you knew in your soul you were meant to do it, what would stop you from getting it done? I'm coming back to the comments here. Wow. Good morning to all of you. Hey, Kenny. Kenny says, I noticed that LinkedIn algorithm has changed within the past week or so, and it definitely has. There was an update on my phone, and I don't allow automatic updates because I want to watch for these things, and I can always tell when it gets wonky that it's coming. And so you might want to check for updates, guys. Coach Carrie says integrity is important. 100%. It's the one thing nobody's going to take from me. I am one of those people that will talk about you behind your back to your face. And I will also be the first one to say, but I can help. Like, I know there's toilet paper on your shoe, and I told everybody there's toilet paper because we got to remember to tell you when you came out of the bathroom. But do you want me to grab it for you? Right? And being that person to yourself. When you have toilet paper on your shoe, tell yourself you got toilet paper on your shoe. Be willing to go, okay, I look silly. Let me fix this real quick. Nick says it's about the parts of my business that I love doing. It's about doing the parts I alone can do and outsourcing the rest. You know, it really is. Fun and passion is what we coach on all the time. And when it's not fun or passion, you should outsource it. You should focus on what moves you and let others move in what moves them. And business owners, they often kick themselves in the butt because they're not able to do everything all the time, wear every hat. And really, could you? Yes. Is it wearing? Yes. Does it create excuses on the things you want to do because you're so tired because you got to do the other things because they take so much longer because you don't love them? Yes. And so if you're a plumber who's really good at doing plumbing things, and then you get so busy that now you got to hire help, now you're a leader and a boss and have taxes and payroll, and you might need to do some training and onboarding and I-9s and background checks. And that is like, Bob the plumber's like, when I don't know how to do any of this. Doesn't mean he's not great, but he has assessed that maybe he should get some assistance. So then he hires somebody, and then he gets busier again because now he's got somebody to answer the calls and return it more often, and it just keeps rippling, right? Eventually, he's got this whole business, multiple teams, multiple staff, just trying to get by. And guys, you always have to keep asking yourself, what part works, what part doesn't? How can I outsource? How can I not? Ken says, I noticed that mindset in general over the years, including my own at a company, no loyalty, unselfishness, etc. Yeah. Chris, I would love to hear more about. I have this love-hate relationship with this conversation. And guys, we have about 30 minutes left. I'm going to open up the stage if you want to come up here soon and talk about excuses versus execution. I would love to know what's coming up in this conversation, because I knew when I was having it with myself preparing for the show, it was a tough one. There's a lot of things I have allowed to delay my execution. Some of it very valid, right? My mother's passing was this week, the anniversary of, on August 5th. It was 4 years. I had a whole lot in my mind. I wanted to, take work off. I had thought about it. I always think about it this time of year. Use it as an excuse not to go to work, and valid reason not to want to be at work, right? Excuse, reason, we're going to use it interchangeably for a second. But when I was looking at my calendar and I'm looking at my team and some requests for vacation days, I realized I had to work. I had to execute the plan. And I had every excuse in my brain not to enjoy the day. I was determined to be a little upset in my soul that I had to work on a day I wanted to just go sit on the beach and think about my mom and really just take it all in. But on my drive to work, I changed that. I flipped the switch. And the reason I did it was because I had rules for my mom's birthday, my mom's anniversary of death, and any holiday. And that is to treat her daughter the way she would have. To do something for me that would make her proud. And I had let my team go on a vacation together at the most inopportune time. I did have the store covered. It was great. And then I got somebody who gave notice because they wanted to start their own business at the same time. And so I was one person short of feeling comfortable. And I could have used that as an excuse to be more upset. I could have, really gotten into my head about it. But the reality was, I was proud of my mom's daughter for giving these younger humans in the business this life experience to go travel with friends on motorcycles together. Yes, I was a little short-staffed, but I could execute this. And you know what? Having my mom's daughter be ready, willing, and able to push through and experience the day with others and just celebrate life in general. I'm going to use this weekend instead to do all the things I had want to, but I took away the excuse of this is a terrible day because I couldn't spend it my way. And I decided to make it a good day for my mom's daughter because that is what I wanted to execute. That was my intention for that day and many others ever since she passed. And I got to tell you guys, it feels so much better to have worked the day, got paid for being there, and to take the weekend off and relax and take a few days in a row to just do it my way. And so I wasn't a victim of the situation, right? I could have absolutely victimized myself in it, got in the victim mindset, been just, woe is me, I have to work. But I didn't. I got up. I did the best I could have. I put in the work my mom would have wanted from her daughter. I put my chin up in the air. I rocked it out. I thought of her a lot, but also not so much. I was busy and it was focus time. And you know what? I'm not going to regret any of that. But I would have regretted sitting at home, being sad, not done the work I had done. And so while I was kicking myself in the butt this week, talking about excuses versus execution, that was what kept coming up for me, right? My mom's daughter has some stuff to get done because she made promises to herself. And it was up to me to choose what was coming next. Am I creating a situation where I'm going to hate the day and I'm always going to remember that one day where I wanted to be off, but I wasn't, and it's woe was me, and now my, habit that I wanted to build of taking that time to reconcile with her loss could be different, but it wasn't. I just honored what I wanted to, which was giving my mom's daughter the experience my mom would have really wanted her to have on the day and do the best with what she had. And you know how many days my mom probably had to work when she was feeling the exact same way? And it made me realize we just keep going and we do the best with what we can. But I did spoil myself and bought myself lunch that day, and I went way overboard and ate too many calories, and it was fantastic. So there's that. Chris, I welcome you to the stage. How you doing?
Oh, I'm confused. Can you hear me?
I can talk to
All right,
me.
yeah, yeah. So, I wasn't going to come up today because my head isn't totally clear, but I had a really busy week. It was actually a productive work week, so it wasn't just a busy for busy sake. I got a lot of things done that were sitting around that I couldn't seem to plow through. So I'll give myself a pat on the back for that. Um, then I was approached about an opportunity which seems good. I was going back and forth. I don't like when people don't disclose salary and have a lot of transparency around that. So I was like, I'm a passive job seeker right now. I have a plan where I am and whatever. So I need a lot of details before I want to have a conversation. It's just, if you can't do that, I'll respectfully pass. So the more I got, the more interesting it seemed. And it's legit because I've been scammed before or people have tried to scam me, and it's a great company. It's in software, and my mental health suffered so much in software, but the salary is outrageous. So, whatever, I have to work on my resume. I have to decide what I want to do. So, I'm guessing, I didn't get back. He had reached out on Thursday. I talked to him on LinkedIn chat for a little bit. Then I had to put my cat down, Melissa, of 16 years, our family cat. That just happened. So that put a wrinkle in my day, but I'm like, this weekend I'll think about it, if I want to pursue the conversation more or not. But that's like a present opportunity. The other um thing I had going on simultaneously is, I've been trying to declutter my house. Some things are a disaster. I find excuses, as you're saying. Um, I want to relax. I just want to go to the beach. I'm tired. So I'll let you comment there for now because I could just keep going.
And I am so sorry to hear about your cat. A pet
Thank
loss is
you.
so hard. Um, so just that, my thoughts are with you for sure. As far as the job goes, I am with you on transparency. If they can't be transparent, it's frustrating. Sounds like there's some good money behind it, but you said something that I want to dive into, which I know you struggled with the tech before in software. Was it the humans or was it the job? Because it changes everything if you can assess what it was that you didn't love. And I know we've talked about it, so you don't have to share necessarily now, but I would bullet point it for yourself. What were those concerns you had? And go in because you have no skin in the game. You're already employed. Like you said, you are a passive job seeker and say, I don't like this about the last tech job I was in. How do you guys handle this situation? And
Oh, I
make
like
them
I like
accountable
that.
for
Yeah.
that. Because the
But
truth is, if they don't like your boldness, you should know now.
agree. I was going to mention one thing I said I probably can't say it. The thing I'm concerned about, and I don't want to not do something over fear, is they do, a lot of tech companies seem to chew people up and spit them out. I did like the tech itself. I liked selling, I'd be leading a team. I liked doing things like that before. There are things and I was successful at it. It's just, I'm also concerned that I'm not getting any younger. I think that where I am now, there is a lot of job security. It's a nonprofit versus, it's a huge risk, and I don't feel like being turned out, you know, in my 50s, like I just, you know what I'm saying?
I do.
Yeah, so
Now, my
it's,
question
and
to you is
yeah,
this, right? Because fear and excitement come from the same part of the brain. We've talked about this forever. If you're excited about the opportunity enough to keep asking questions, that's something to explore, in my opinion. However, I very much understand not wanting to keep bouncing around. I have done a lot of transitioning in my time. So, what would it take for you to be comfortable? I was just having a conversation yesterday with somebody. They called me and said, Hey, I'm leaving my job. I'm trying to figure out the timing. I already knew this transition was coming with this person. The timing we were uncertain of, but asking the right questions. How much savings do you have? If they did cut you, how long would you have? If there is an increase of income, how much more of it could you put away in case it fizzles out sooner than you expect? Do you have a plan B? And if none of those things are aligning to make you feel excited, I wouldn't do it. That's because you're not looking. You weren't the one actively seeking it out. They sought you out. Now, anything that brings me excitement, I'm going to investigate a little bit more, but you have to decide for you. Just because an opportunity comes doesn't mean you have to choose it either. And that's something that's really hard for yes people. And Chris, I know we've talked about that in shows that you just want to be helpful. And like when somebody says, hey, we want your help, it feels so good to have that acknowledgement. But what is the ripple of it all? And that's really the hard part. But I think you're ready to assess it. I mean, what are the good and the bad and the ugly things about this job versus where you are now? Could you see yourself retiring where you are now?
Yeah, I could, but and I also could see myself growing, but I also think I am making less than I am used to. So it's a real it's everybody, I can adapt, but I used to have the potential to earn way more. So and that I do have a small resentment about that. Right?
Okay,
But
so
there's
I'm going to go
trade-offs, there's
back to my
trade-offs.
question
Yeah.
again and ask, could you comfortably retire here?
Oh, I can't comfortably retire anywhere. So,
Well,
that's no, I mean, I made, some of my history. I made some really bad decisions, that I'm paying for now. But anyway, but I could only, live, try to fix it from here. The other thing I love that you said was, what would it take? Because this person, the recruiter, was like, what would it take to make you jump? And he's saying numbers, and it's not all it's numbers. But I liked how you said, what would make me comfortable? Meaning, it's not always even just about retirement and numbers. It's a bunch of things. So I was thinking maybe I get a contract, maybe I negotiate a severance ahead of time, certain things like that too. Like, I'm not saying I can do, I don't have to make a decision. I don't even know if I got it right. I may not even get it at all. But if it comes to that, then I know what I need to do to feel like I could, like I won't have too many regrets. Um,
100%.
yeah. But my question was really like, I have other things to do this weekend. So I have a lot, I guess, a little time for everything, for even to relax, and it's hard for me to even figure that out. But that's where I get all whacked out.
Okay, so couple of quick relaxation techniques that don't take long. Um, Favorite song, sing it as loud as you can in the shower. Just like go, scream it out. Be Celine Dion. Um, there's something about the breathing. Your favorite song is actually helping you take deep breaths, and you don't even realize it because you're singing. But singing is one of the greatest breathing exercises out there, and it's a great way to release some of that stress when you're singing your favorite song. Other things, go be outside, touch a tree, touch grass. I know that's not very nice to say these days because people are mean on the internet, but truthfully, grounding helps. I love to play in my plants. I have soil and living, breathing plants in my house at all times. And on Sundays, I water them right after the show. And time, hang out and decompress and touch and feel living, breathing things. And I feel so different after it. And I haven't done plants for 15 minutes and make sure they look good and take away the stuff that needs to be pulled off the plants and whatever. So find those little things, but write it down. Just take 10 minutes before you do anything else after the show and just write down everything in your brain. I don't care if you know what it means. I just, new job, fear, income, severance, packages, all of the things that you're just bullet pointing. Write it down and watch your brain have it just disappear. Because subconsciously it's going to be working on it. But as soon as you write down that shopping list, you can forget the list. And it's so true with everything you write down. Your brain goes, okay, we wrote it down. Documentation is a game changer. And I think if you just brain dump today, sleep on it, come back, look at the notes tomorrow, you're going to have more answers than you think. And so when you write it, make sure you put a little space under each word or term that you write down, because tomorrow you might write an answer under each. You might have solved for it, and you want to make sure you have the answer to the equation under that note.
Melissa, I have to share something. So last week, there's a little beach, like it's a lake beach where I live that I can walk to with my beach chair with a strap on it. And I went there last Saturday. It was like the first time I've been there the whole season with my notebook. I wrote out a bunch of stuff and that does work. And I forgot to do that just now. I have a built-in forgetter. It's insane. But like I said, I had a busy but very productive week. I got rid of all that monkey brain and I knew what I was going to do. So I think you just gave me my own answer in a way. Like I have done
So
this.
schedule it. I want you to go into your cell phone, schedule your time, whatever time of day that's going to be, whether it's just after the show, and go to the beach, brain dump, and just have that alarm repeat. You could do it daily for 2 minutes. If you do it every day, it's a lot faster, right? But set the repeating alarm so you don't forget, because I'm a scatterbrain too. I'm in the show and I just had 3 alarms go off while I'm live recording, podcasting, broadcasting. But it's because the other 6 days of the week, I have a million things I can't forget. And so I do the same, because I get so excited about so many ideas and so many clients and so many facets to my life of business, because I am employed by others. Plus I do my own, right? So definitely use it. This is why we keep repeating the processes, is because we're growing and we forget what we already knew.
Okay, and I will say too is when you I felt like so much shame when you were like talk. And I know that's not what it was. I was just holding myself accountable, asking myself these questions, and are these legit excuses? Do I say them all the time? Is the same thing happening every weekend? Yes, 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 a lot of times. So I did just even get started. Like my laundry was really packed up. I was like, I'm gonna just start doing something, and it felt good. Like once you get started, it does make that's it. That makes all the difference, and then you're motivated to do the next thing and so on and so on. And I have to go to the dump today, so I'll probably spend a little time cleaning out some more stuff. I'm also purging my clothes because I'm a clothes hoarder, and a shoe whore. I just can't stop. And that's what I do. I'm in recovery. I'm trying not to eat. I don't drink. I don't do other things. So I'm spending money I'm noticing that's what I'm doing, stuff I don't need. So I got to keep that in check.
Well, and I love that you're on top of this, because you're assessing, right? This is absolutely tracking and adjusting and doing all the things we talked about today automatically. But the things that you're doing, when you're doing them, guys, ask the questions. This is the last thing I want to make sure we're covering. It's a perfect segue, Chris, is, are you being busy or productive? Because I'll be honest, guys, you can be very busy on LinkedIn with all of these shows and all of the podcasts and all of the great advice. But if you don't produce results with the advice, you're just staying busy. If you're not actually implementing the advice, if you're not doing any of it, it doesn't work. So make sure you're always looking at the urgent but not important, the important but not urgent, and what actually moves the needle. And you can make these a Venn diagram very quickly, a couple circles. You could use the squares, make your own shapes. I don't care. But make sure you're focusing on what really matters. For me, and I'm going to give you back the mic in a second here, Chris, I am always going to have laundry staring at my face. It is who I am as a human. I know this. I have resolved that I am okay with laundry that needs to be folded. I have set boundaries with myself that it can only be, 2 loads of laundry before I have to address it. Or I like to lay my clothes in a certain way so they don't wrinkle while they're waiting to be addressed. I have solutions coming. I just got a new dresser. I'm working on that, but I've realized I have too many clothes too. I don't want to get rid of them though, because here's my assessment, guys. You have too many clothes, Melissa. Why do you have too many clothes? Well, one, I'm no joke somebody who can swing 10 pounds in their weight in one food sitting. Not because I ate 10 pounds of food, but because I think I might be gluten intolerant and I don't care, but my body does. And so if I eat pizza, I have to change into the bigger jeans the next day. The other thing is I work in a motorcycle shop sometimes, Other times I'm standing on a stage giving a presentation. Other times I'm hanging out in Bellingham, Washington in some really cute boho style outfits with cardigans or beanies and really big clunky necklaces and skirts. And I'm not getting rid of any of it. I refuse. I also have special cleaning outfits. They have to stay because if I get bleach on them, nobody cares, but they're super comfortable and they move with me and they're not in my way. If you're like me, let me know in the comments. But that said, none of that is going to make or break my day. What will make or break my day is if I go into a dirty kitchen, if I feel something on my carpet in my feet, like if I'm walking in my house and I can feel there's something not right, I will lose my crap. So I have a really nice vacuum, and that happens often. There's little things like that that bother me. And so just in house, I'm not going to stay busy doing laundry for busy's sake, but I will be productive to prevent my mental health from not being okay. And so that's where my barrier is, guys. In the comments, I'd love for you to tell me where your lines are. What are those things where you know it's okay to be messy in this, but it can't be messy in that? Chris, laundry,
Oh,
though.
I'm with you. Like, I need a clean bathroom and a clean kitchen. I can't have anything on the counters or in the sink. Before I go crazy on my family, all the time. Like, if I leave for a little while and I come back and it's like, holy God, but then some other things are like, I just don't. I mean, besides clothes, like when you're talking about beanies, this and that, I like scarves. I got 1,000 baseball hat, and every time I buy a baseball cap, people are like, don't you have enough of those? But I think they look cute on me or whatever, right? So that's why I keep buying them. Or it's easy if I have a bad hair day, right? Or so I do a lot of work from home though. And even this opportunity, it's fully remote. So I usually from the waist up have to look good. But yeah, sometimes I go out, sometimes I visit clients in person, sometimes I work a show, so I do need a variety, but not that many people are paying as much close attention as I think. I don't really pay that much attention. Sometimes I do, but I have way too many accessories, whether they're earrings, bandanas, scarves, caps. I got everything.
And
I need to pare down. I need to pare
I,
down a little bit.
I love that when people know where their limit is. I'll be honest. I want a room for my clothes. I want to have not a dressing room, but like Khloe Kardashian really put me onto something when I was laying in bed one day dreaming of my house. I love her pantry and I love her closet, and I want both. I don't need a gazillion shoes, but why wouldn't you take care of a nice pair of shoes and maintain them and wear them and love them forever? Right? I mean, it just makes sense. There is there's some value in keeping quality. If we're hoarding just junk, it doesn't work. But if you love baseball caps, just find a beautiful way to display them. My cousin Ricky, when he was growing up, it was always tennis shoes and baseball caps. He could wear a white t-shirt, like just get him a 5-pack of the Hanes white t-shirts and some blue jeans. He didn't care. But the hat and the shoes, that's what changed. And when you went to his house, the top of his closet and the bottom of his closet were lined perfectly with these shoes sitting on their box. When he went into his room, every wall in his room was a hat. He just did push pins and he hung them on the push pins, but it was a design and he did it in a really cool color scheme. That was his passion. That was his fun. He just found a way to put it in its place in his life. And I think that's what we miss the most, guys, is just being organized in our chaotic little fun, right? It's okay to have a craft room. It's much better to have an organized craft room, right? And so think about how much time you're wasting by looking versus being able to just have it assessed. We've talked about Jason Bourne. What makes him really cool as an agent is he's never padding around his pockets to see where his card or his keys are. He can put
Oh, how funny.
right? He could just take the card out, unlock the door, put it back in his wallet. You never even saw him do it because he's never uncertain about where his things are. He is always on top of it. And when you get your life to that kind of order where you don't have to pad around and guess about what's next, it's a lot easier to make decisions and move quickly. Let me say hi to some friends here. Felipe has given some great advice down there. I like this. A motto that he adopted is decided, then do it. And I like decide, then go. I've been using that one for a while. But yeah, guys, figure it out and then get to work. It's literally like, how long are you going to think about it before you're just wasting time? It's time management 101. If you touch it, More than 2 times, you should do it. I think somebody else said 3. I'm a big fan of 2. If you think about it more than once, there's something there. Write it down. And once you've written it down, that's a 3rd time. By then, you're already planning. Bill's here. Hey, Bill. Today, I'm manifesting the heck out of everything I want and sending that same energy to you. Yay. We need to chat for sure. And I love seeing your decluttering. I am finally off this weekend, so I got to catch up with some people. Tomorrow is our show. Felipe and I are going to be doing careers, chaos, and coaching. It is a round 2. We had already done the topic, but we're expanding into it. So make sure you share, like, comment, all that good stuff. Guys, I hope this topic wasn't too rough. I knew coming in that this title, that this header, it gets to be a lot. Excuses or execution, the choice is yours. It's very much like victory and victim. They're both starting out the same, guys. You got to make a decision. And it's only an excuse when we use it more than once, right? There's valid reasons to be delayed. But if you're allowing the same reason to keep continuing, then you're allowing a pattern to become your life. And you have to decide if you like the pattern or not. You can't grow well if you know that every 3 months they're just going to come chop your head off your crop, right? If you see it coming, if you know it's going to come, if it's a pattern that's like, why wouldn't we stop it? Why wouldn't we figure chopping it off? Who are supposed to be your fence? Can we get a fence if we need it? I'm a big fan of all my amendments if that doesn't work. Let's be serious. We got to get our jobs done. And I'm not condoning violence, but if people keep coming in and taking what isn't theirs, and that's the habit, you got to set boundaries. And boundaries come in many shapes and forms. You have to set boundaries with yourself first, though, guys. We allow others to behave around us in a certain way. We allow others to take energy. We allow employers to ask of us what we are or are not comfortable with. We allow ourselves to be either the best or worst version, and we can pretend that it's actually not up to us very quickly if we begin that habit and lean into it. It really is us. And when everybody says it's really hard to do the thing, I agree. But I got to tell you a quick story, because if this fantastic concept could help you, run with it. But I also want you to think about the story when you're thinking, maybe this is too risky. Maybe this is too wild. Maybe this is too silly. When I was sitting in Seattle at the aquarium, there's this little space outside for performers to hang out. And there was a gentleman who was in an all-white outfit, white pants, white shoes, white top, with a horse head on, white unicorn horse head. And he had a bucket turned upside down, and he was playing the drums on the bucket. He had another bucket right next to him with a lid and a little slot cut into it. And I'm watching this guy just bang this bucket for about an hour. I was so enthralled with this guy because here he is, nobody's permission, just dressed up however he wants to and banging a drum in public in a space where most people come to relax. And I'm just watching him get bill after bill after bill deposited in this bucket. I started counting because I was like, I wonder how much money this guy's making right now. And because I couldn't tell what the dollar denominations were, I just counted them as a 1. Right? What is the lowest opportunity here? After an hour, I had seen 200 bills go into that bucket. All he was doing was sitting there, banging on the drum in a stinking hat that looked like a horse, having a good time. If that guy can make at least $200 an hour just banging on a drum somewhere, maybe he needs a permit to do it. There are rules where you are, but contemplate the concept, guys. If we can have that kind of fun and have that kind of outcome, if you could have strangers support you so quickly in the middle of public like that, why wouldn't you? What is that dream you have that seems silly? What is that thing you can tell your friends about? What is that drum you can bang on that gets the attention of others and the support of others? If you have it, let us know what it is. Do you have an event coming? Are you up to something cool? Let us know. Right? You could drop it in the comments. I just want you to get to work. If you're stuck, reach out to me. I am taking new clients. I'm not doing a lot of new clients. It is first come, first serve on my time frame and availability. And I am coaching on Mondays, guys. So if you want to coach with me, that would have to be when we align. But I'm doing all of these things. I'm also working on an in-person LinkedIn training seminar. If you want to get signed up and you're in the Bellingham area, please reach out to me for information. But we're going to go live this winter. We're going to get in person. We're going to do some coaching and consulting in mass. We're going to do some group stuff. So guys, thanks for coming. I'm going to get out of here. I'm heading to a farm. I'm going to go hang out with some real horses, nobody in uniform, and deal with my newest coaching client. But I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow for Careers, Chaos, and Coaching. I hope you have a wonderful day. Go follow Felipe over to Social Saturday Chats because that would be fun. But before you go, dance with me. Enjoy the song. Thanks to Aaron Gibson. I'll talk to you guys soon. Take care.
Sunlight creeps through my window pane. Dreams of stars, now a faint refrain. Coffee brews and thoughts collide in this early morning ride. Wake up world, let's start the day. Insight flows in a bright array. Questions dance like morning dew. In this space, it's me and you. Coffee chats with Melissa. Every cup was a whisper. Conversations open door. Spilling thoughts forevermore. Ideas bubble crisp and bright. Words take flight in morning light. Consult the heart, make it sing. New perspectives on each wing. Pour another cup of cheer.